Hello, I'm Dr. Moonstien. This is my entry in the Moog Circuit Bending Challenge. I documented the build. You'll see that in a second. It's long and painful. This is my circuit bent toy guitar sequencer ribbon synth double whammy thingamajig. It's got a cool whammy bar. It's got glitches. It's got body contacts. It's got a 10-step sequencer that controls the control voltage of the guitar and the control voltage of the ribbon synth. It also has 6 pulse outs and a switch to reset it at 7, so it starts back at 1, so that you can shorten the sample when you're using these if you want to. The whammy bar, you can switch it so that it goes pitch up or pitch down. It's also got another pitch knob, 1/4-inch output, on-off switch. It's also got another LFO to, oscillate the VCO deal. And that's it. I'll give you a quick demonstration, then you can watch how I built it. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Dr. Moonstien. This video is for the Moogfest Circuit Bending Challenge. I'm going to do a documentation of a circuit bending project, step by step. You try and win some pedals. First step, you need a donor. I got this Kawasaki. It's pretty rocking. I'm going to open it up, try and find some modifications, some bends, some noises. I'm hoping that I can somehow sync it up with this thing. Maybe find some bends and dealios with this. Do a little, you know, keytar double-necked action. See what happens. Second step, you want to take this sucker apart. I'm just going to put all my screws in a little dish here and hope that I don't knock them over and lose them. So the third step, this is the fun part, you get to poke around. There's not a whole lot going on in here. So we'll see. I'm going to dig around in here. I'm going to mess around with this probe. This is a timer probe. I can inject pulses into stuff and see if I can trigger stuff externally. And, you know, I'm going to mess around, dig around with this thing, and get back to you. Step 4. One thing that most people spot first is a pitch resistor. So what I did was I wired up just a test pot to see how I can change the pitch of the guitar, and it does. And right now there's a fixed resistor in there. I'm going to pop that out and I'm going to replace it with a larger value so that my bass pitch is extremely low. And then I'm going to add a pot on top of that so that I can adjust the pitch. With this timer probe, I found a spot on the circuit board that I can inject this and it'll glitch it out and it'll set a stream of them. Of just basically triggering the different samples and stuff. And you know, you can geek it out by the pitch and everything. And that's pretty cool, but the really cool thing is I can hook a decade counter up to this and sequence the control voltage of the guitar. So I've hooked my sequencer up to the control voltage of the guitar. I've just rigged it up here on the breadboard kit to test it out, make sure that it works before I install it into the guitar. I'm going to paint the guitar. After I paint it, I'm just going to let it dry and leave the circuit and everything alone. And while that's drying, I'm going to open up the red keyboard and see what I can do with that. Alright, got the other donor, piano fun. Use anything metal, use this little drill bit and this, and I'll poke and prod until I find a sound or something. I'm just replacing the original controls with ones that I can turn off and on easier. I've probed the second donor I've got a control voltage into it. I've got some body contacts, some like, warbly effects, and squeaky, some crunchiness. I've found all the bends that I'm going to use on both the instruments. I have checked to see if I can sync them together, and they work synced together. Got little two diodes making a divider for when I hook the sequencer up, so that's syncing them. I got one more thing to test out before I start putting the stuff all bolted together and putting pots and knobs on everything, and body contacts and such. And I gotta build a mixer to mix the sound together. And just to see how it's gonna work, I'm gonna make a passive mixer out of 200K resistors and a 47K resistor. And after I just do this real quick and test the audio, I'm gonna probably build a volume knob for the keyboard, and we'll see how it sounds. We'll see how it sounds, just this little dinky passive mixer. Both instruments sump together. We have both audio outputs mixed into one audio output. So all we gotta do now is fuse the enclosures together and put all the controls and stuff. Completely brain dead. All my holes drilled for the steps in my sequencer. Got a little sidetracked. I'm making a whammy bar for the So I decided to take the guitar back apart, and I'm going to put a little tiny ribbon controller way. This is the circuit for the ribbon synth. Closed up the back of the guitar. Both of the toys stopped working. Man, that's brutal. My project came to a pretty big standstill last night. Both of my toys fried. I got the piano kind of working. I replaced this little transistor here, but it's still really low. I can't get the guitar to work at all. So I'm stripping this thing for parts that are usable. I'm going to get it all cleaned out, and I've got another toy guitar. I'm going to try and use that circuit somehow. I'm going to maybe stretch this ribbon out and use this neck and maybe hook the other guitar onto here. Right now I'm trying to dig through the trace on here, and I scrape back a little bit of the green shit and put some solder on it. I cut the power lead that goes to all these individual switches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to solder a wire to this lead here on the trace so that I can attach this part of the circuit board to an LFO trigger, and then when I push down the buttons it'll connect each sample to that trigger, so I'll be able to quantize them real fast. After that I'm going to try and hook up my sequencer. I'll probably solder a wire somewhere into this or to the power and put that on the toggle so that I can go back to normal use as well. And I'll use like a double banger toggle switch that'll turn on the LFO and switch that back and forth at the same time. So I ran a wire in through some holes that were already there, and I got it squeezed on there pretty tight, going over where I just scratched off and added some solder. And I'm just going to solder that on there. My hand's shaky, I've been drinking a lot of coffee. So now I got an input for my trigger. I am scratching off a little bit of each lead to each sample, and I'm wiring in wires there. I'm going to actually use the pulse outputs of my sequencer instead of just the control voltage. I tested the control voltage, I can mess with the pitch with that also, but on this one I'm going to set it up so that each step triggers a different sample on the guitar, so it should be pretty dope-alicious. Okay, so I wired 7 wires to 7 of the samples, triggery button things, and I'm gonna attach those to the pulse outs of my sequencer. The pitch mod coming out, and I've just cut holes for the extra wires. Alright, so I got the new guitar neck bolted on and the circuit wired in there most of the way. I still got to put the body contacts in and the 7-step sequencer stuff and hook it up to the control voltage of the sequencer. But so far, and I got a glitch trigger in there too, so. I can switch. Yeah, still got a bunch of work to do. I just need to make the ribbon longer. I put 6 toggle switches and a reset switch that will make the counter start back at 1 after 6, so it turns into a 6-step sequencer, and these toggles trigger the different samples of this guitar, and it sounds real cool.